All right, Shalom. I'm going to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shemel, Shabbat, Shemar, Kakodash, the bonus of the apostle and elders, great millstone, and Shalom to all the Akim that push the word of sincerity and the truth. Yeah, this lesson is going to be going into Satan's house divided is in full effect. And, you know, in the political realm, which this is really one of the main things, brothers got to keep their eyes on because this is prophecy, news and events, taking place, which a lot of it is false, news, a lot of things be bullshit on the news, but they bring out a lot of good information into the status or the state of the times that we coming in. Reading these articles, whether it's weather, whether it's events that take place, current events, just the status of the world, from a economic standpoint. That all ties into prophecy. When the prophets and the men of the Lord were watching the fall of Rome, they weren't just measuring the fall of Rome by how much they were getting paid. They was, they were looking at prophecy to come into pass. The denarius falling in Rome. That's why it says in James the 5th chapter, it speaks about how the golden and things was cankered. The stretching forth for the military, which Yahweh Shai even spoke about Satan house being divided against itself, because he had an idea of economics, and he was well learned in economics. He didn't just have a clue. The scripture doesn't say that, but he's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. So he knows how society and righteousness should be ruled and conducted, especially with people. And the prophets, they knew about economics on a whole. Sirach the 10th chapter speaks about how the government of a prudent man is well ordered. The word economics goes into oikoumene, which is pertaining to the house. We're under the house of Esau, so we got to see the house of Esau fall. And we're in damn near bankrupt economy. You see the status quo, the financial, state of America is in a frenzy. Over 20, damn near $20 trillion. If I'm not mistaken, the numbers is going up. Roughly that range when you look at the U.S. debt clock. Debt per citizen is extremely high. They just did this $2.2 trillion stimulus package bailout, which the check's gonna come in Monday. When you watch the, of course, coronavirus task force briefing, which I had watched the whole thing last night. But that's all taking a hit on America. And you see, one thing that Trump did say, which I do want to start with this video right here, is around this time span, really around 1-2 minutes in during the end, he spoke about how he has total rule and dominion over America, and he also spoke about the the microchip. He made reference metaphorically to the RFID chip, which is the microchip, and it had the press basically in a frenzy, and he kept cutting them off, doing what he does best, over talking and whatnot. He's a politician, so he knows how to debate. He was debating his ass off, basically deferring, from a lot of points, ignoring a lot of points and things of that nature. He just dropped the gavel and he kept going. And one thing that he did say is he's, de facto, when it comes to opening and closing governments, state governments. And you have other states that's not with that. They're not feeling that statement that he said. And one in particular is Cuomo, the governor of New York, as well as other ones. He's one of the main faces that's going on, because New York is the epicenter right now of the coronavirus in the United States. The United States is the epicenter of the world, and in the United States, New York is the hotbed. Cuomo is doing a lot of, he's speaking a lot on behalf of the coronavirus and the news and things of that nature. And you see that he was fueled with it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other states. So, hey, that's prophecy. Where it goes from here, we'll see. Only time will tell, through the Spirit. But I do want to play this clip, what he said.
They have to get open. Every one of those states that people want to go, and they want to. Now, some are in a different situation. I won't name states now, but I will over the next 2 or 3 days. I'm going to be very specific. But you have some states where this is not the kind of a problem that it is in New York or Louisiana or Michigan or other places that got hit very hard. Illinois got hit very hard. But all states want to open, and they want to open as soon as possible. But they want to open safely, and so do I. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, the French President Emmanuel Macron said that he will keep the shutdown in France till the middle of May. Does that mean that the U.S. will keep the ban
No,
on
France got
flights
hit
from
very
Europe?
hard. France got hit very hard, and again, he has to do what he has to do. He's a friend of mine. But France, Spain has just been decimated. You look at what's happened in Italy, it's a very well-known fact, what happened in Italy. No, they were hit very hard.
Question for Secretary Mnuchin. Has everybody that you would like to have, the 100 business people on the Economic Council, have they all been invited already? Have they all agreed to
They haven't been invited yet.
It was a little bit it's a little bit behind around the 2-minute range. He basically spoke about how he has full authority. All right, the government has full authority when you watch it watch the press conference, and brothers could actually check it out. But he was speaking about other things. They were asking about the closing out of different European countries. Will that, when the government opens, will they actually open doors for the European countries? And he basically said he don't know the status of that yet, due to the fact that they're actually per capita getting hit on a worse basis than the United States per capita. All right. So he spoke about that, and like I said, the microchip, which is even on Apostle Tahar's page, GMS.YouTube, which, Lord willing, I could just. I meant .tube. Oh yeah, .YouTube. Excuse me. So get this little clip real fast.
Listen.
You have local governments, they're pinpointed. It's really, you talk about, like a microchip. They're pinpointed. We have local.
Yeah, so he said his local governments that he has basically pinpointed like a microchip. And that was still going into basically the question of what the press was asking about the level of control he has. And Cuomo basically did his response and the aftermath of it about how he feels of what Trump said right here.
We also have to be clear on who is responsible for each element of the opening. The president said last night that he has total authority for determining how and when states reopen. That is not an accurate statement, in my opinion. Now that we know that government actually matters and government is relevant and that government has to be smart, because what government does is determining how this goes. It's literally determining, in many ways, life and death. We have to be smart about it. The federal-state relationship is central to our democracy. This has been.
Right now, I really have to play the whole video. That's really the main point. He's not in agreement with it. Of course, he's a politician, so he's gonna speak politically, but he won't curse the president out and say Donald Trump is full of shit. And he's basically talking out the side of his ass, which really Trump is pushing the spirit of this new world that we're in, because this is going to be a dictatorship. When Esau gets to the position that he really wants to get to, these elitists, what they want to push in the new world order, it's not to give free range respect to the different states of America. It's to have full control. And Esau's been working on that plan for a while, and one of it is to crush the whole state government spirit. States actually having their own, rights to open or close or do this, go left, go right. Now, everybody has to listen to the president of the United States. That's why when martial law and these different acts are passed, it suspends your constitution, your constitutional rights as a citizen. It even states, your mayors and anybody who actually has a voice, to, speak on behalf of the citizens or whatnot. It doesn't matter as long, it doesn't matter. Like I said, the president's de facto bills, go through the president. It's stamped. Everything is, over the king is going to be, it's a kingdom, which really Esau made people believe that this isn't a kingdom, like this is just a democracy. Citizens' votes matters, this, that, and the other. None of that matters. Esau and his plans is to have full control over you. That's why one thing is Esau is turning this into a surveillance state, or Orwellian society when you look these words up. For the brothers that's unfamiliar, and if I'm not mistaken, another term is a nanny state, which he has full control, just like how a nanny would always taking and not even giving you a check, but actually giving you your food and supplies. You see what I'm saying? Your essentials. This is what the times that we come into. This is Matthew 12:26. Well, I just read this on nanny state. The government regarded as overprotective or as interfering unduly with personal choice. Yeah, so your personal choice as a citizen is being stripped from you, because we're moving into a nanny state, But that's a topic for another time. But even in this press conference, they was asking about Fauci. It was believed that Trump has a little bit of animosity towards Fauci, because of the Twitter statement that he reposted. Somebody said time to fire Fauci, and he reposted it. So Satan is divided against itself on all odds. States are divided against the federal government. The federal government is speaking on things, basically speaking against states and different entities, which he was speaking against the World Health Organization, and they have lawsuits and all these things going. Country, these different people are suing each other. Shortages, then it's, arguments around the table, So this is Matthew 12:26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And that question is, self-explanatory. It can't stand. That's why the Lord asked it, and he's asking facetiously. If he cast out Satan, and he, slices himself in half, and has divided points, and basically, severance of when it comes to, what they believe in, and they're actually pulling against two different directions. How can the kingdom stand? It won't. It'll fall. And when the Lord dropped kingdoms, he always dropped them from division. That was a main tactic that the Lord did, and he set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Back in the day, he set the northern against the southern kingdom. It was he set the Greeks against each other. When you read about the different the Seleucid Empire and the Ptolemaic dynasty, So this is Isaiah 19:2, and even with Rome, you had the two different parts of Rome that was divided. You had the Holy Roman Empire, but you really had two different. It became somewhat like two city-states. And they eventually fell because of that, and it was part of the stretching forth too far, the military and things of that nature. But this is Isaiah 19:2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city. So New York City, against another city. I'm not saying that this is going to be the exact case, but the scripture says that it's going to be city against city, and kingdom against kingdom, and it's going to also be wars, big boy wars will take place. Russia and America, China, Iran, these different big nations actually coming to fight, and this is all going into the fall of the society and the raising up of the nation of Israel. So things are getting juicy, things are getting very interesting. We got to keep our eyes out, keep watching for these heavy prophecies to come to pass. So I want to end by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Shema, Shabbat, Shemar, Kakodash, double honor to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom Akim.